They told me. You're special. You were born to do great things. You know what? They were right.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose rapture. A city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, rapture can become your city as well.
survived that plane crash, but I've never been one to question Providence. I'm Atlas, and I aim to keep you alive. Now keep on moving. We're gonna have to get you to higher ground. Take a deep breath and step out of the bathysphere. I won't leave you twisting in the wind. We're gonna need to draw her out of hiding, but you're gonna have to trust me. Just a bit border. How do you like that, mister? Now, would you kindly find a crowbar or something? Bloody splicer. Seal Johnny in before they... Goddamn splicers.
I'm not a bad person! That's all you got?
Steady now. Your genetic code is being rewritten. Just hold on and everything will be fine.
This little fish looks like he just had his cherry popped. Wonder if he's still got some Adam on him. Hear that? Let's buck. Weak! You're a weak chopper. This little fish ain't worth towing it with no big daddy. Yellow! Always have been. You'll be no better off with a metal daddy, little fish. See you floating from right here.
Look, Mr. Bubbles, it's an angel. I can see light coming from his belly. Wait a minute, he's still breathing. It's all right. I know he'll be an angel soon.
You alright, boyo? First time plasma's a real kick from a mule. But there's nothing like a fistful of lightning now, is there?
I didn't mean to hurt anyone!
Yeah, you know what?
I was just getting warmed up! Things were supposed to work out for me down here! Leave me alone! Go run! We were... You're only making... Come back!
Tell Ryan I'm sorry. No, I won't do it again. No, please, please, don't do that. The whole thing will go. No!
get them out of here. But the splicers have cut me off from them. If you can reach them in Neptune's bounty, then maybe, just maybe... I know you must feel like the unluckiest man in the world right now, but you're the only hope I'll ever see my wife and child again. Go to Neptune's bounty. Find my family, please.
There to sing this song. Hush. Mommy's gone. And Daddy too. Wait. This is happening before and none. Why aren't you here? Why is it today and not then? War and why can't Mommy hold you to her breast and feel your teeth? Oh, no. No, 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 no. You're making Mommy cross now.
Plasmids changed everything. They destroyed our minds. We couldn't handle it. Best friends butchering one another. Babies strangled in cribs. The whole city went to hell.
If I didn't care more than words can say, if I didn't care, would I feel this way? If this is a flaw, then why do I thrill? And what makes my head go round and round while my heart can still find would every prayer begin and end with just your name? Would all
Charlie! Charlie, where you going? No, Charlie! Now make it double! Come back and take me!
While my heart just stands still.
If you spot a splicer in the water, hit it with the electrobolt.
Here they come.
Another New Year's, another night alone. I'm out and you're stuck in Festus, working. Huh. Imagine my surprise. Oh, I guess I'll have another drink. Here's a toast to Diane McClintock, silliest girl in Rapture. Silly enough to fall in love with Andrew Ryan. Silly. What happened? I'm bleeding. Oh God. What's happening?
Where? You will have to fight me for her!
Nobody's gonna want me.
Hey, Brent, you care to tell me why you've had a hole in the wall the size of Plymouth Rock coming out of your crapper going on 3 weeks now? Now, I ain't saying I'm Shakespeare. I'm trying to run a respectable theater. I got working folk coming in from Port Neptune trying to catch a little diversion. And all they can think about is the stink coming out of your shitter. Get it fixed.
Come on!
a child down there. Don't be fooled. She's a little sister now. Somebody went and turned a sweet baby girl into a monster. Whatever you thought about right and wrong on the surface, well, that don't count for much down in Rapture. Those little sisters, they carry Adam, the genetic material that keeps the wheels of Rapture turning. Everybody wants it, everybody needs it. That's the big daddy. She got his Adam. He keeps her safe.
Hey, I'm Jeff Keighley here in Boston to go behind the scenes to hear some untold stories about the making of Bioshock with Ken Levine and Sean Robertson. Let's talk a bit about the theme and setting of Bioshock, Rapture. I think a lot of people, when they played the game for the first time, Ken, they wondered, how did you even dream up this place? And I know you've said publicly before that part of the reason you sort of, what led you to Rapture was this idea of fully simulating a place. Tell us about that sort of idea and the frustrations you had with other games where you sort of hit a bound.
I think our philosophy was always to do what we were doing 100% rather than try to do something bigger and do it 50% or 40%. So one of the ideas of, and this sort of came from System Shock 2 as well, where you focus on an area that you can really bring to life and you kind of eliminate the questions of, well, why can't I go over the bridge to New Jersey? So we were able to really make a place, I think, that felt believable and real, even though in actuality it was really quite limited. But we just sort of dressed it with all these buildings outside that were all, basically glorified fakes. We let the story drive what we needed to show rather than some kind of like predetermined map which we set down, which is a little different than like System Shock 2, where we actually mapped a spaceship out deck by deck.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the philosophy felt a little different there, because you want to feel like a real spaceship that was sort of stacked on top of each other. Rapture was free to sprawl across the ocean floor.
Although you guys originally, John, were talking about doing this game on a sort of spaceship again, right?
Yeah, when we first started talking about what the spiritual successor to System Shock 2 was going to be, spaceship came up, but again, you know, we wanted a limited environment, and we didn't necessarily want to do spaceship again. And our first actual exploration of this space was underwater, but ultimately ended up looking like a spaceship. It just happened to have a couple of seaweed fronds outside. And that started to push us towards what artistic statement that we wanted to make this look different, and what rules we were going to set for the world. How at every turn we were going to try to remind the player that they were in fact underwater and that this wasn't a spaceship.
And how, like, underwater, we obviously know you did underwater, then sitting this. Where did you come up with the idea of like doing this underwater?
I think there was probably a conversation. It's like, well, what kind of places could be cut off from other places?
Yeah.
Like, well, you know, spaceship, summer camp, you know, like any island notion, right? Something that's cut off from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So you never felt like you.
The view distances are going to be short, so you can really kind of fade out into the fog at a short distance and not have the expectation that, why can't I see forever? So there's a lot of limitations in a good way that we put on ourselves by being underwater, as opposed to, like, if you're on a cruise ship, then you'd expect to see across the water, and we'd have to deal with that. Same thing with an island.
Or
and
a city in the sky.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was a lot more complicated, yeah.
So you came up with the idea of, let's do this underwater, let's do this sort of isolated place. Then you had to answer the question of, you know, why would someone build this? Is that sort of how it worked, sort of order of operations? You then had to come up with a story to explain?
Yeah, I think we wanted a very believable reason why they'd be there. Right. And sort of the necessary isolation of the place sort of led to, well, what kind of person would want to do this? And I wasn't even particularly aware of the sort of political implications of what I was reading, but I've been reading, I had read The Fountainhead. Right. By Ayn Rand, and I mostly thought it was an interesting story. Like, I didn't realize that people were sort of basing their sort of political lives around it, because I wasn't that tuned in to that stuff at that point. And so, but I love the dialogue and the kind of speechifying in it, because you can see a video game character speaking with that kind of certainty and that kind of confident philosophy. It just seemed like a natural kind of thing to apply to this place, and so it just sort of all came together as a sort of who is the guy who would do this? Well, you know, that character. He was sort of this amalgamation of characters from Ayn Rand's books and Ayn Rand herself. This sort of idealistic person who says, well, the only way to do this is to separate from the rest of the world, and that led to Andrew Ryan.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone.
We knew from a technical standpoint that we wanted isolation. We also knew to sell it, we needed a compelling storyline, a backstory that why would this place exist? Otherwise, how are we going to make Rapture feel like it's lived in if we don't have the reason for it to be there? So once we decided on the underwater location and then the closed off spaces, that objectivist story kind of came in and made the art stronger and made the level design stronger, because we could feed back into that loop.
And I think that's why we had to have sort of Andrew Ryan's pitch right at the beginning of the game. We wanted people to understand why somebody would go there. And so he makes this very personal one-to-one pitch to the gamer, but also that was the pitch he'd make to people, which was, you know, there's a place that you can be free of all these things, where you could not be sort of put upon by the government and not be afraid of nuclear war and not be afraid of all these other things that will plague you on the surface. We wanted that pitch to sort of resonate and make sense, because that's, otherwise by the time you got there you'd be like, well, this place is just fantasy, nobody would ever come here. And that the beauty of the place was also tied into that. It had to be a very attractive proposition, or people who would believe that people would go, leave their lives and go to the bottom of the ocean?
I'm sure in some ways you had to convince the team and enroll them in your sort of vision of, who this character was going to be and what the setting was going to be. How did that work, Sean? I mean, did Ken come in and say, hey, I've been reading these books, and I think we could sort of...
I believe he just came in one day on a horse and said, Ayn Rand, everybody read The Fountainhead.
Exactly. I bought 30 copies of
Yeah, I think,
here's a 2,000-page book or something.
Yeah.
Go read it.
I mean, really, it was more organic. Like I said, we knew that we had this location, and you struggle to fill it with stories, and you struggle to find meaning of why does this place exist? What's my motivation? And as Ken started to explore Ayn Rand a little more and started talking to us about it, and we were having a conversation, and it's like, oh, this could totally work. Like, this is exciting. Like, this is something that really hasn't been done in a video game before. And if we had flipped it and come up with the idea first before the location, I don't think we would have really been that excited about it. But we had a location, and now we're trying to fill it with that story. And because of the order of operation there, you start to get excited, like, oh, I could totally make this work. This is going to really make it feel like a lived-in space.
As you think of sort of the the setting, and you think of maybe a character or something, was there a moment that you think back, it's like, oh, like right then and there, like I got excited when you attached the Ayn Rand
For me,
stuff
it was
to
it was going to Rockefeller Center and seeing the visual.
Uh-huh.
So I told this story before, but my wife and I were in New York, and we went to Rockefeller Center, which was, if you go to Rockefeller Center, it basically looks exactly like Rapture. It's because every building, you're sort of encircled. It's this block in New York, or a couple of blocks in New York, where Radio City Music Hall is, and where 30 Rockefeller Plazas, where you see that show 30 Rock, and the ice skating rink, and where they put the Christmas tree, and it's this very iconic location. But what's cool about it, it's all one, unlike the rest of the city. Everywhere you look, it's one architectural style. It's Art Deco, and it's very iconic Art Deco. And my wife and I were there, and we were sort of working on the game, and we didn't have a visual style. And all of a sudden, I started looking around, and I said, oh, this could be a visual for the game. Also, the geometry of it was actually quite conducive to making a video game, because it wasn't overly complicated geometry. Art Deco is quite
bold and simple.
Bold and geometric, and simple. And so my wife and I bought a couple of tourist cameras before iPhone cameras,
exactly. Throwaway cameras,
Yeah, throwaway cameras, those little Kodak things, and we just started photographing doorknobs and light fixtures, and just sort of developed the photos. Remember that? Brought them in and said,
come to the office, here's a stack of stuff,
here's a stack of photos.
Take a look.
I'll see you guys in a couple of years. Go make this.
City where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, Rapture can become your city as well.
So you had kind of a theme, you came up with an art style, some of the iconic characters, and then, you really had to build the narrative around it. And you've talked about, a lot of the themes in the game, and, greed, jealousy, sex, violence, all the things that sort of, drive us or what destroy us. And that was something I think that, as you thought about the story of the game, you wanted to, I'm sure, reflect some of those, right? Because I think people love the characters, it's sort of flawed in a way, and this is a world which is its own little microcosm, but had a lot of tension inside of it.
Yeah, I mean, the character of Ryan was sort of, he's basically invisible through most of the game, right? Except for a very small portion. But he's very present because he exists, the city is him, right? It's such a representation of him. We never want to cut away to a cutscene where you saw Ryan, planning and scheming. We wanted him to be very present without actually being present. But once you had Ryan, once you had his desire to protect this vision of his, you just had to then come up with the characters who'd be arrayed in opposition to him. So we had this character, the Big Daddy, and then eventually the character of the Little Sister. And so characters like Tenenbaum came along, like, here's a person who's in opposition to him for this reason. And then you have, for more noble reasons. And then you have a character like Atlas, who's much more cynical opposition. Once we had all those characters arrayed, we're like, well, who are you? And, you ended up being a sort of, a pawn in the middle of all this opposition to Ryan. We just kept sort of homing in on that theme and making sure that you weren't, eventually figuring out that you couldn't just be here by an accident, that you're an integral part of this story, even though you don't know you're an integral part of this story. You think you're just there by happenstance.
Look, Mr. Bubbles, it's an angel. I can see light coming from his belly. Wait a minute. He's still breathing. It's alright. I know he'll be an angel soon.
off access to Neptune. There's another way to get there. Head to medical. What are you waiting for? Go!
Sent to you, the KGB wolf or the CIA jackal. Here's the news. Rapture isn't some sunken for you to plunder. And Andrew Ryan isn't a giddy socialite who can be slapped around by government muscle. And with that, farewell, or До свидания, Jack.
I just adore the summertime.
The parasite hates three things: free market, free will, and free men.
They always arrive with outstretched hands. They're a tuneful people, I'll grant you, but so lazy. Oh, he's terribly fun. The finest? The finest? Hardly at all. Too introverted for anyone to notice. You call that tenderloin? If you serve that in any hotel in
Welcome to the
New York.
Welcome to the circus of value.
You out of town.
Feel your craving to the circus of value.
Keep away from my patients!
Ryan and Adam. Adam and Ryan. All those years of study. Was I ever truly a surgeon before I met them? How we clicked away with our scalps. Toy morality. Yes, we could lop a boil here and shave down a peak there, but could we really change anything? No. But Adam gives us the means to do it. And Ryan frees us from the phony ethics that held us back. Change your look, change your sex, change your race. It's yours to change. Nobody else's.
The alert is in progress.
If you want to use the emergency access, you'll be needing Dr. Steinman's key. He's the one that runs this place. But I don't expect him to hand it out of the milk and human kindness. Steinman ain't that kind. And frankly, I'm not even sure he's still human.
Where you going? Hang her on! little nothing! Come out now, you ghastly person! Where are you? Clean it up! Clean it up! Who called this trash?
Shop in the surgery wing. You want to find them? Just follow the blood. job is done.
On the surface, the parasite expects the doctor to heal them for free, the farmer to feed them out of charity. How little they differ from the pervert who prowls the streets looking for a victim he can ravish for his grotesque amusement.
I am beautiful, yes. Look at me. What could I do to make my features finer? With Adam and my scalpel, I have been transformed. But is there not something better? What if now it is not my skill that fails me, but my imagination?
I was at German prison camp, only 16 years old when I realized I have love for science. German doctor, he make experiment. Sometimes he makes scientific error. I tell him of this error, and this make him angry. But then he asks, how can a child know such a thing? I tell him sometimes I just know. Then why tell me? Well, I said if you are going to do such things, at least you should do them properly.
That some citizens have discovered ways to hack the vending machines. I should not need to remind each and every citizen of Rapture that free enterprise is the foundation upon which our society has been established. Parasites will be punished. must tear out. Never mind your own needs, they say. Think of the needs of
Why do we have two eyes? There's a law that says we must. 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 ears, 2 breasts. Looks familiar. It looks easy. I can see death floating in the air. This could be a little more hygienic.
You'll have to find some way to get through to surgery and Steinman. Chin up now. The Lord hates a quitter. I can hear that splicer sounding off like it's the 4th of July. Explosives are hard to come by down here. If you get your hands on one of them telekinesis plasmids, you can catch the damn firebomb and toss it right back in its gob. Or anything else that might be standing in your way.
A little sister is a criminal offense. Do not approach the little sisters.
What is the most vicious obscenity ever perpetrated on mankind? Slavery, the Holocaust, dictatorship. No.
Fine!
Picasso became bored of painting people, he started representing them as cubes and other abstract forms. The world called him a genius. I've spent my entire surgical career creating the same tired shapes over and over again. The upturned nose, the cleft chin, the ample bosom. Wouldn't it be wonderful if I could do with a knife what that old Spaniard did with a brush?
Security cameras. I can hear the infernal things all around you. Ryan's eyes and ears.
Talk. But in the end, they've got nothing in society. More
Parasite wanders the halls. We rebuild our city in the doubt that the
Stealing, I knew it! That won't work for long!
1,000 Adam to the man or woman who pins its wing.
You people will never amount to anything! We can see you, coward! That's all your type is good. Run away! You people will never amount to anything!
Light up foes to 1,000 degrees. Warning, fire spreads.
be a great husband.
We can see you, I know.
I don't want to hurt you. But sometimes...
Touch me, you dare! Come here now! Stop wasting my time, you horrid monster!
I promise to do no harm.
Unsit-
Quick, someone shut the door!
Security, the splicers, the big daddies, the little sisters. He pumps some kind of chemical scent in the air. Pheromones, they call it. Makes them all dance to his tune.
We can see you, you know. cocky little nothing! Darling, the medicine, I need it now!
The bottom of the ocean is our home, but it can also be a dangerous place. Any leak is a bad leak. Report any unexplained water promptly to the Central Council.
but it ended one day. A different way. When skies are cloudy and gray, they're only gray for a day.
And it's not used to attention.
So wrap your troubles in and dream your troubles away. There's only one. Wrap your troubles and dream your troubles away. After all, life's really funny that way.
Things in life.
No use to fumble. I would say, Paul, where'd you chase the stars?
Everyone. They need there for you.
And wrap your troubles in
things in life are free.
It's my daughter's, not his.
At the German prison camp, they put me to work on genetic experiments on other prisoners. They call me das Wunderkind, a wonder child. Germans. All they can talk about is blue eyes and the shape of forehead. All I care about is why is this one born strong and that one weak? This one smart, that one stupid. All that killing. You think the Germans could have been interested in something useful?
The flowers in spring, the robins that sing, the sunbeams that shine, they're yours, they're mine, and
Throw objects at foes. You can even catch grenades and throw them back.
everyone. The best things in life are free. The best things in life are free.
Proceeding well. Lifting objects at distance presents no problem. Moving objects through space, no problem. Cannot stop speeding bullet, but can through a faster moving object. Problem not with plasmid. Problem with reaction time. Suchon just get new idea for plasmid. Don't like him necessarily. Clinical trial lot 44, Dr. Suchong, Pliant Fontaine Futuristics. Subject age white male, one Roland Wallace. Can you hear me, Mr. Wallace?
Yes, sir, Mr. Suchong, sir.
Very well. Right, I'm introducing lot 44 now. We've codenamed the lot 44 Enrage because of its tendency to... Nurse? Hold him down! Nurse!
What is that there? Hanger-on? Parasite! Come here now! Good Lord! The blood! The blood!
Typical behavior for someone with...
Clean it up!
Welcome to the circus. Welcome to the... Kill your cravings and the circus of value!
Just open your eyes, and when I see her, she cuts me into 1,000 beautiful pieces.
What can I do with this one, Aphrodite? She won't stay still! I want to make them beautiful, but they always turn out wrong! That one's too fat! This one's too tall! This one's too symmetrical! And now... what's this, goddess? An intruder! He's ugly! 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 Ugly!
Silk and done.
The nose looks terrific, Dr. Steinman. Doctor?
You know, looking at it now, I didn't realize how much your face sags. Scalpel?
Excuse me?
Scalpel.
Doctor, she's not booked for a facelift.
Let's just come in here and...
Doctor, stop cutting. Doctor, stop cutting. Get me the chief of surgery! Get me the chief of surgery now!
sanitary. Who's that? My buddies.
Sounds like another tunnel collapse. Welcome to Rapture, the world's fastest growing toilet joke. It's a little one. Here's your chance to get some Adam.
Stay away from her, or it is you who will be shot next.
Easy now, Doctor. He's just looking for a wee bit of Adam. Just enough to get by.
I'll not have him hurt my little ones.
It's okay, lad. That's not a child. Not anymore, eh? Dr. Tenenbaum saw to that.
But do not hurt her. Have you no heart?
Aye, that's a pretty sermon coming from the ghoul who cooked up them creatures in the first place. Took fine little girls and turned them into that, didn't you? Listen to me, Brio. You won't survive without the Adam those things are carrying. Are you prepared to trade your life, the lives of my wife and child, for Tenenbaum's little Frankenstein?
Here. There is another. Use this. Free them from their torment. I will make it to be worth your while. Somehow.
Thank you. Thank you.
The path of the righteous is not always easy, yes. The reward will become clear in time. Be patient.
Tenenbaum's playing you for a sap. Those things may look like wee little girls, but looks don't make it so. You need all the Adam you can get to survive. If you cross paths with another of them, gatherers, garden machines, make sure you pick up a new plasmid or two. That's if the price ain't too dear, of course. Not only are those little girls veritable Adam factories, they're nearly indestructible. They regenerate any wounded flesh with stem versions of the dead cell. But their relationship with the implanted slugs is symbiotic. If you harvest the slug, the host will die. So you see, it's not like killing, Tenenbaum said. It's more like removing a terminal patient from life support.
Bioshock was groundbreaking in many regards when it released in 2007, though fundamentally it shared many consistencies with Irrational's System Shock series. What elements of System Shock translated into Bioshock, and what was refined, altered, and innovated upon to create the world of Rapture? Let's take a look at the long road from System Shock to Bioshock.
Everyone knows where the game ended up, but I think fans would be interested to learn where this game or the idea of doing this game started. And I think, you know, folks know System Shock and the legacy of that game, huge fan base. Did it start as a System Shock game initially?
No, I mean, because we didn't have the rights to that,
Yeah.
right? We kind of felt that there was more game design to mine there. You know, that it was sort of, we did that one game, and it was sort of the first game that really combined shooting and RPG. And it was a very small budget. You know, it was a very small team, and it was the first game we had ever done. So we got pretty lucky, I think, in terms of how well it came out. But you know, but the odds are sort of stacked against it. And the team, was really enthusiastic about doing a game like that. And time had evolved, and the team was much more. We had done a bunch of games together, and we were, we had a stable technology base, and we're like, okay, well, which System Shock 2 was not. I mean, that engine, no game had ever shipped on that engine. It was a very crude piece of technology. Most of us had never shipped a game at the time. So like, well, what if we had a stable technology base, and we had a team that was more experienced and more seasoned, and we had, an actual, like our director, and which we didn't really have on System Shock 2. What could we do? And so I think there was a lot of enthusiasm in the team to really try to do a more mature version of that kind of game. This is before we had sold the company to Take-Two, and we were an independent developer, right? We were sitting there, we were using the money we made from other development deals we had, and we would try to scrape together whatever time and money we had to work on this thing. And it was not actually something I was particularly keen on doing. The team was much more keen on doing a sort of a System Shock-ish game than I was, because...
That's your pitching, right? Like System Shock 3 at one point, right?
Well, I mean, there was an actual System Shock 3 that we were pitching back in the day when we were right after System Shock 2, but that never happened. Right, we couldn't get anybody interested, because System Shock 2 sold like 5 copies, right? And so as the business guy, the guy who had to not only just sort of write the content, but the guy who had to go out and get the deals and pay everybody, I wasn't particularly excited about doing this, because it was very disappointing when we did System Shock 2 and nobody bought it. It got great reviews, it got these insane reviews, but it left us in a place where it didn't really move the needle for us in terms of making payroll. So I wasn't super excited about it, because I didn't see a publisher be interested in it, and I didn't see the audience actually be particularly interested in this kind of game. And it was really the team who convinced me to invest in this, because their enthusiasm. I think a lot of them came to the studio because of System Shock 2. And so finally, they sort of battered me down, and it's good they did, because I was not the first fan of doing this.
And I know initially there was something called the Serene Dawn. That was a spaceship, or what was that?
No, that was
the name of a cult, right?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, okay.
That one's, I think, been lost to the... If I remember correctly, Serene Dawn was a cult. You were playing as a deprogrammer that was infiltrating the cult, and your name happened to be Carlos Coelho, who was one of our programmers at the time.
It's named after him, yeah. There was a story notion that I always really found interesting, which was that you have these cults, and you have sometimes people who, they're these sort of characters who are really live on the edge of the gray morality, which is these guys who come in and essentially kidnap people out of these cults, or rescue them, depending on how you look at it. Because what it really is, from a functional standpoint, it's a kidnapping, right? You're coming to an adult, and you're saying, you're hired by their parents or whoever, and this was in the story, it was like a senator whose daughter joined one of these religious movements called the Serene Dawn, you said?
Yeah,
the Serene Dawn. And I always thought that was a really interesting tension of this hero who's basically a kidnapper, and taking a young woman against her will out of the place that she was in. Now, you could also make the other argument that, well, she was not really there by her will. But there's a really interesting conversation that goes on there. I think there was actually a Kate Winslet movie, a Harvey Keitel Kate Winslet movie, which dealt with a similar theme. Because usually you hear that story, these deprogrammers as a sort of heroic kind of notion. But I always thought that, well, there's something interesting about agency going on there, and about are people entitled to make bad mistakes, or is it a bad mistake? It all depends on the person. And I'm not a fan of religious cults or religion in general, but there seemed to be an interesting discussion of freedom there, and independent decision making. And I thought that idea was cool, and that was sort of the basis of it for a while. But it was really mostly for the purpose of, we needed something to go out and pitch to publishers, and so we didn't have a ton of time to really develop it. So that sounded like, all right, this will do for now.
And was that pre-Underwater City? I mean, this was just like an idea for a story.
We may have stepped away from that to do the cult thing, but then we went back to the underwater.
We had that one room, remember?
We had the one World War II room with the roaches on the ground and like these weird test tube things that you could walk around. I don't know where that fell. It could have been underwater. there was no windows.
The thing is, we were a small business, right? And we were trying to like figure out a way to sell this thing with spending the least amount of money, because we didn't have any money. We didn't have a pot to piss in. So we would do this demo that was one room basically, just to show, and I'd write up a document, and we'd take it around, I'd fly around the country, be like, here's our room. It was a different time, you know? And
we had just come off of SWAT 4. One of the advantages we had is that we were so familiar with that engine at that point that we could really start cranking through, you know, small rooms and lighting and making things look good. So
I took it on the road to sell it to somebody, and nobody cared. We'd go to a publisher, and look, they have to make money, right? And then we'd say, we'd say, oh, it's sort of a spiritual successor to System Shock 2, and they'd be like, well, how did that sell? And I'd be like, my mom likes it, you know. And they would be like, well, we can't, you know. And usually we'd be talking to a fan. A lot of executives, like sort of junior executives, were fans of System Shock, and they go to their boss and they'd be super excited, and their boss would open up, you know, their Excel spreadsheet and be like, no, we can't do this. And I think the pitch probably evolved as we kept trying permutations trying to sell, but we're also out there trying to sell like 2 or 3 other things at the time. We had a pitch for a game called Monster Island, and
well, our SWAT 5 pitch was
Zombie SWAT.
Yeah, we had just come off of SWAT 4, which is like hardcore tactical, and we decided they wanted us to do another SWAT, and we didn't really want to do another hardcore tactical game, so we're like, what if we added zombies to SWAT? Like, you're a SWAT team that fights zombies and werewolves. That sounds awesome. And it was like, no, it doesn't.
And this is before,
We're not gonna
before zombies were a thing.
Yeah.
And so we came with this thing called Division 9.
Division 9, yeah.
That probably would have been even a bigger financial success than Bioshock. Wow. But we couldn't get anybody interested in it.
We didn't have enough werewolves in the demo, I think.
We had 0 werewolves in the demo. Yeah, we were going to have werewolves, weren't we?
Werewolves and vampires. That was the
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Werewolves,
the whole,
vampires,
like,
zombies?
just throw it all the Universal Studios monsters from like.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what happened is we couldn't sell it, but we were always sort of independent-minded. And so I said, well, what if we sort of did this in reverse? Instead of getting a publisher first and then doing a press tour on it, what if we sort of did the press first? Yeah. And we called up a guy, Andrew Park, who was at GameSpot at the time, who was a fan of System Shock 2 and a great guy. And I said, well, will you come out and look at this thing we're doing and write a story on it? And he was like, sure. And Andrew flew out, and we showed him what we had, which is this very, you know, very rudimentary thing about an underwater base. And he wrote up an article and System Shock 2. And the next day, the phone started ringing from how all of a sudden I saw the article was getting all this pickup, all these comments, and people were excited. And that really, I think, put it over the top in terms of being able to sell it, even though it was not Bioshock at that point. It was called Bioshock, but it was not Bioshock. There would have been I don't think there would have been a game. We never would have sold it without Andrew coming out doing that.
My belly's full of angel's blood.
You're ready now. It's time to take on one of them big daddies. It won't be easy, but it's the only way to get to Little Sisters and the Adam they carry.
Thank you for
Tenderloin. If you serve that in any respectable hotel in New York, they'd laugh you out of town. Yeah, don't you disrespect me! Darling, is that you? How dare you touch me!
Help me find this patient, nurse.
Bullet a little light and surgical.
You're instructing everything!
Whenever anyone wants others to do their work, call upon their out. Chain humanity to an endless cycle of evil.
Disgusting vermin!
Just a door. Go in, Rush!
Welcome to the circus! You look like you...
Disease! You're diseased! Nurse! Help me find the patient, nurse! Quick, someone shut her!
Alert deactivated. Thank you for your patience.
I don't know how you managed it, but you did. Come through to Port Neptune now. I'm looking forward to shaking your hand.